Hey guys, it's me, Mr. 250, and welcome back to Steins Gate Zero. Last time was pretty interesting. A lot happened. We had Okabe finding out about all of the experiments that had been going on. I don't know if I'd say behind his back because he wasn't at the lab, but without his knowledge, I guess. And apparently Mayuri found out that she was supposed to be dead. Didn't like that. Had a conversation with Suzuha. And I presume Okabe's chasing after her right now. So let's see where that goes. I stuck my hand against the wall of the Brawn Tube workshop to catch my breath. You ran down the stairs. That's it? There was no sign of Mayuri. Ah, okay. I was about to say, you ran down the stairs and had to stop to take a breath. I'd gone to May Queen Nyan and to any shop I could imagine her visiting and had no luck.
Okabe-san!
Maho came back. She was out of breath too.
いたか?
ダメ。辺りをぐるって回ってみたけど、見当たらないわ。
The panic was threatening to make me lose control. Where did you go, Mayuri?
誰? 見つかったか?
I asked Daru to stay behind and call all of her friends and people she knew.
オカリン、それが
どうした?
電話つながらないんだよ。
Is she in the future?
俺も何度もかけてみたが、
Or the past, I
電
should
源を切ってるみ
say.
たいで。
違うんだ。マユシだけじゃなくて他のどこにもつながらない。
Uh-oh.
つっか、ずっとスマホが圏外になったまま
Oh,
で
yeah,
さ。
bad things are happening, I feel.
なんだって?
I looked at my own phone.
俺のも圏外だ。
私もだわ。
We're stuck in the dark ages, boys. The lab had never suffered from bad signal before. We went up to the roof and even tried holding our phones up to the sky, but the result was the same.
屋上でもダメだ。
外に出ても繋がらないわ。
Daru looked for news on the internet. Thankfully, the internet connection was still active.
お、速報出た。
There was an article on the top page of Taboo talking about a large-scale cell phone service outage.
え、つうか、なんぞ秋葉原一帯の基地局が全キャリア故障？
I'm sure only good things can happen from that.
全キャリアってそんなことありえるの?
First you break their communication network, then they're vulnerable. It didn't seem possible to me. Not under normal circumstances, anyway. The events of a year ago, in the Alpha World line, flashed through my mind. That night, when Mayuri was mercilessly killed and all the safety I'd ever believed in was stripped away. That night, when all the pain began, started with a bomb threat at Akihabara Station that had shut down the train system.
人為的な工作。
Something terrible was about to engulf Akihabara. That was the feeling I had. I tried my best to fight off the flashback. Now wasn't a time to be scared. I needed to find Mayuri. I couldn't leave her alone out there. I gritted my teeth to fight off all the trauma I was carrying, and raised my head.
ダル、ネットは生きてるんだよな。
あ、うん。だから LINE 経由でルカシやアマネシとは連絡取り合ってる。
Okay, then they should be willing to help look for Mayuri.
俺ももう一度辺りを探してくる。
待った。実はもう一つ気になることが。電波障害のことをアットちゃんで調べようとしたらさ、現在進行形でお買い手がクラックされてて、そのクラッキングしてるやつがさ、ほら。
Cracking? Term used to describe actions such as illegally accessing a network-linked computer or modifying its data. often confused with hacking, but originally hacking was described as using and investigating a piece of software. Cracking, however, refers to a malicious unauthorized activity. Most of the time when the term hacking is used by the media, this is what they actually mean. Who is 4chan? Daru brought up the @channel page on his screen for me to see. I wondered why it could possibly matter, but decided to take a look anyway. Attention, Salieri's neighbor. Salieri's neighbor? Or... oh, I forgot how to say it. You have to say it a certain way, don't you? Anyway, that was the nickname I'd used to make contact with Curry Gohan and Kamehameha.
何なの？
I decided to leave the explanation for later and clicked on the thread. It was all comments by a single person. Oh, whoa, that was a lot of text right there and I didn't read any of it. What is all this? I'm gonna read it off here. They might end up repeating it though. To Salieri's neighbor, it appears that we twins will now be temporarily driven from the place where we belong. So I may not be able to come back here anymore. Our Father in heaven has developed a way to force open our most secret places. Now we shall become good children, his children who cannot tell lies. And thus we will be forced to tell him of the secrets of controlling time, and where those secrets lie. It is a great sorrow to me that I cannot protect these secrets. I had hoped we could be good friends, but this is probably goodbye. So lastly, I'd like you to pass a message to the person I respect the most. I always regarded myself as an essentially ordinary intellect. Tell her that she was always the person I wanted to be. Tell her that she was the real Amadeus. I'm trying to decipher what this means. The twins part, are they talking about Kurisu and the other girl whose name escapes me, but I hate her? There's talking about controlling time, which obviously has to do with time travel story, but let's see. We will be forced to tell him of the secrets of controlling time. It's great sorrow cannot protect their secrets. Is that her saying that she's given up involuntarily anyway, she's given up the, I guess, theory of time travel? So she's saying probably goodbye. So I'd like to pass on a message to, I don't know why I'm forgetting names, Maho. I always regarded myself as an essentially ordinary intellect. Tell her she was always the person I wanted to be, that she was the real Amadeus. I understand the ending well enough. I understand the fourth grouping of sentences. The third grouping I kind of get. Second grouping I somewhat understand. The first one I'm not entirely sure on. That was my best guess before. I don't really know anything better. Anyway, let's continue on. If it reads all this off, we're going to skip through it. First comment had gone up an hour ago. After that, it was just an endless string of meaningless numbers and letters.
これはどういうこと？
Maho is looking at the screen from the side and evidently sensed that something was amiss from the text. I answered her.
アマデウスだ。
え？
こいつはアマデウスのクリスなんだよ。クリスに何かがあった。
This was some kind of message. She was trying to contact me with it.
時を司る秘密。
タイムマシンじゃね？
タイムマシンの情報が誰かに漏れたのか。
That's what it looks like.
つうか、なんでアマデウスがタイムマシンの情報知ってんの？オカリン喋ったん？
Did I? I didn't think I'd told her when I was a tester, but there was no time to think about that now.
ヒアジョさん、アマデウスにアクセスできるか？
規則違反になるけど、そんなこと言ってる場合じゃなさそうね。橋田さん、その PC 借りていい？
Maho took Daru's seat and used his PC to access the Brain Science Institute's computers. She put in her ID, Salieri, and her password. She pushed the enter key, but Amadeus didn't appear.
いつもと違うわ。どういうこと？
Confused, she typed a series of commands into the PC with a speed that rivaled Daru's. But no matter what she did, the Amadeus program didn't appear on her screen. When she'd finished accessing every server at the Institute, she stared at the computer and bit her lip.
こんなバカなことって。
どうした？
ないの。アマデウスのプログラムが記憶データごとどこにも。
Just like the messages from Kuri Gohan and Kamehameha.
ダル、ハッキングしろ。脳科学研究所だけじゃなく、ビクトル・コンドリア大学にあるデータを全部こじ開け
Do
る
it
ね。
right now.
サーバーから個人の PC まで全部だ。
And then compile all that data into an easy to understand sentence.
オキドキ。
ヒアジョさんも協力してくれ。頼む。
ええ。
But the answer was the same. Not only the Amadeus Kurisu, but the Maho as well were nowhere to be found on the Victor Condria servers. There was no trace of them. Their very existence had been erased.
どこか別の場所に移されたとか？
そんなの無理だわ。アマデウスシステムに関して。
Oh no.
そんな管理者
I hope Dr. Leskinen isn't evil.
教授だけよ。
His porcelain skin!
レスキネン教授。
My mind flashed back to the message from Kuri Gohan and Kamehameha. Our Father in Heaven has developed a way to force open our most something. Now we shall become good children who cannot tell lies. That makes sense now, actually, in that context, the Our Father being Dr. Leskinen. Who was the Our Father in Heaven whom Kurisu had spoken of? If Amadeus considered anyone a father, it would be... I'm actually really digging how that was written. I thought it was going to be a bunch of nonsense when I first was, taking a look at it, that short paragraph or whatever. But there was actually a lot of information kind of hidden in there. Not like hidden, but I liked it. That was actually really cool.
憶測で物を言わないで。それよりも教授の ID とパスがクラックされたと考える方がよっぽど現実的よ。
You don't know him like I do.
連絡をつける方法はあるか？
The phones weren't working, and there was no way to tell when he'd seen an email or if he'd respond. Maho was thinking hard, but it didn't seem like she was having any luck. We were getting nowhere. I was concerned about my Yuri, but I couldn't ignore the danger that was right in front of me.
とりあえずラジカンへ行ってくる。クリスの警告通りなら狙われるのはあそこだ。
僕も行く。
お前とヒアジョさんはここで情報収集だ。マユリが戻ってくるかもしれないから。
Please condense this into something easy to understand. It's gonna be confusing otherwise.
何かあったらすぐに逃げろよ。
I gave my orders and ran out of the lab towards the radio building. Run out of the one exit the building has. I guess you could jump out the window, but that wouldn't help much. Oh, right, yeah, the video. Suza hit the play button on her smartphone video's display. The video was heavily compressed and covered in static, but she recognized the person that appeared. It was a face she'd known her whole life, a face that had been with her both in the past and in her present. The man who she still remembered holding her up in the air as a child was probably about 35 in the video. Gasp!
やあ、鈴葉、元気かい？父さんだよ。こちらは2025年だ。
In the future, we've developed even worse video compression techniques.
いろいろなことを君に託してしまって、本当に申し訳なく思う。許してくれ。
I had to put this on YouTube and then download it 25 separate times. Beautiful compression levels.
届いたということは、君は、いや、君とマユシは、シュタインズゲートへの道をまた一つ見つけてくれたということだ。
Ooh.
つまり、
Cool.
次の段階に移行したわけさ。なぜ最初から全部指示しなかったのかと、君は怒るかもしれないな。
Fortunately, if I told you all this, the story would have been much shorter.
でも、指示しなかったんじゃないんだ。できなかったんだよ。
YouTube doesn't exist in the future. Do you know how hard it is to go to the past and upload a video?
君が出発した世界線の僕は、これから話すオペレーションを計画していなかったはずだからね。もう気づいているかもしれないが、君とマユシの選択によって世界線はまた少し変動したんだ。つまり僕も君が出発した世界線とは違う別の世界線上の橋が至るということになる。
I had to hack every cell phone tower in the area to send you this video.
でも鈴子、どうか勘違いしないでほしいんだ。僕はどんな世界線においても娘ラブだからね。ちなみにどうだい？比べてみてどっちのパパの方がダンディーかな？僕は最近筋トレを始めたんだけどさ。ふふん。
ダル、くだらないこと言ってないで、さっさと作戦内容を話せ。
まったくだわ。どうせまた三日坊主で終わるんだから、どうでもいい報告はしないで。録画できる時間は終わっちゃうよ。
まあまあ、そうせかすなって。つうことで、このムービーメールの本来の目的に
Movie mail.
オペレーションアークライトの詳細を伝える。これは本当に一瞬のミスも許されないギリギリの戦いになる。心して聞くんだ。いいね。
Suza paused the video there. If he was telling her to pay attention, it must be important. If she was going to memorize it all, she needed to calm down. To be honest, getting a video from her dad in 2025 had made her really excited. It felt like her father was telling her that the plan she'd come up with on her own was the right one. That's why she needed to pay careful attention. Mayuri was standing by herself, typing something into her phone as fast as she could. When the video had arrived, she told Mayuri that they may have to leave for the past today. There must be some reason the video was sent today at this time. That's how it seemed to Suzaha.
何してるの？あ、すずさん。どう？今日出発することになりそう？作戦概要はこれから確認するつもり。そっか。もし今日出発するってなったら、マユシーは行方不明になっちゃうわけでしょ？心配かけたくないから、お父さんとお母さんと、あとお友達みんなにメールを書いておこうと思って。オカリンおじさんくらいには直接伝えられる時間があればいいけどね。
She would be done going over the mission and deciding on a course of action by sunset, probably.
オカリンにもメール書いたから大丈夫。メールでいいの？
I think Okabe would try to stop her if she tried to go. Mayuri smiled and nodded. There were no more tears in her eyes, but you could still see wet lines drawn down her soft pink cheeks.
なんだか恥ずかしいから。でもね、せっかく書いたメールだけど送れないかもしれないなーって今ちょっと困ってたところなのです。
なんで？
電波圏外になってるんだ。場所が悪いのかな。
圏外？
Suzaha looked at the screen on Mayuri's phone. There wasn't a single bar on the antenna.
おかしい。この場所ならいつだって電波は入ってた。
Suzaha took out her own phone to double check.
私のもだ。
When she saw that Mayuri was using a different cell carrier than her, she frowned.
嫌な予感がする。
Quick, get in the time machine! She told Mayuri to hide behind the time machine, and silently moved up against the iron door leading to the stairs. She opened it a crack, taking care not to let it creak. She looked inside the building. It was as quiet as ever. There's nothing on the floor below but a room for events and some storerooms, so on weekdays like this it was always quiet.
気のせいか。
She tilted her head sideways as she softly tried to close the door. How did this bug get up here? What? We climbed over the walls. At Mayuri's scream, she turned around just in time to see armed agents in camouflage jumping over the fence. One of them had grabbed Mayuri. They suction cupped their way up the walls. Suzaha deeply regretted her mistake. She was well aware that someone could try to come up the walls. But the video from her dad had made her so excited, she'd lowered her guard. There were about 30 men, all carrying small assault rifles. With Mayuri as their hostage, Suzaha couldn't do anything. One of the men gave her an order in a cold voice. He pulled Mayuri close and put the gun to her head, then flipped off the safety. She had no choice but to obey. Suzaha took the gun out of her holster and put it on the ground, then took a pose where she couldn't resist.
喋らないで。こいつらいざとなれば本気で姉さんを殺すよ。私は大丈夫だから。
From the way they moved, she could easily tell they were veteran professionals. That meant they were certainly after the time machine, and were probably well aware that only Suzaha could operate it. That Suzaha decided meant they wouldn't kill her if they didn't have to. The man who'd spoken to her first, who was probably the leader, knelt down next to her. She was searched roughly to make sure she wasn't carrying any other weapons.
これでも一応女なんだ。少しは気を使えよ。
They took the other small pistol she carried for emergencies, as well as several different kinds of knives.
目標2と目標3確保。そっちは
Who's target 1? The leader spoke to the group of men gathering around the time machine.
目標1確保。ロックがかかっていて、すべて
Oh,
エラーで
the
始め
time
ます。
machine. Several of the men had gone inside the machine as well. Leaving the hatch open had been Suzaha's own mistake, but still, it upset her to see them inside the machine.
何をしても無駄だ。そいつは私じゃないと言うことを聞かない。
立て。
The leader kicked her with the heel of his boot.
ではそのままゆっくりとだ。少しでも余計な動きをしたら即座に人質を殺す。
When she stood up, her hands were handcuffed behind her back. They prodded her from behind and moved next to the machine.
生体認証だ。
そうだ。ただし私の静脈や指紋をコピーしても無駄だ。手を切り落としたり目玉をくり抜いたって認証には使えない。2036年のシステムはそんなに間抜けじゃない。
The men in camo seemed aware of everything she said. None of them seemed surprised or irritated.
教授はどうした？
The leader asked the man who was pointing the gun at Mayuri.
現在こちらに向かっていると
Oh,
こ
we're
ろ
gonna
です
see Dr. Leskinen?
目標1は目標2とセットだ。洗脳しないと無理だと伝えろ。
Suza gritted her teeth when she heard the word brainwashing. She'd seen many of her friends in Valkyrie undergo this cruel process, then be sent back as spies before turning into vegetables. The leader turned towards Suzaha.
洗脳の行き着く先は分かっているはずだ。教授は薬などは使わない。直接脳をいじられることになる。
Why are you telling me this?
そうなる前に、
Oh, I
素
see.
直に我々に協力した方が利口だと思うが。
教授か。
Where'd she'd come from? An old doctor of that name had led a brainwashing team that had attempted to destroy Valkyrie. Suza had hated him more than anyone else. They hadn't used drugs either. It was safe to assume that both professors were the same person.
分かった。
She nodded.
言うことを聞く。だがこれじゃ無理だ。
Suza jangled the cuffs behind her back.
手錠は外す。ただし抵抗すればそっちの女が死ぬ。
There was still a gun pointed at Mayuri's head. Even if she tried to resist, it would be impossible to save Mayuri from this many professional soldiers. When she went inside the cockpit, she used her biometrics to bypass the lock and brought up the control console. Lights came on all across the machine, and she could hear a low rumbling.
よし降りろ。あとは我々が調査する。
あんたたちに理解できるとは思えないけどね。
As Suza left the cockpit, the leader turned his gaze towards a particular cluster of the men, which seemed to be engineers. That was the moment she was waiting for. Her hand had wandered below the console for just a moment when she'd left the cockpit. She hid some knives there. Without making a sound, she threw it at their leader. That's a very muffled grunt. The knife pierced his throat. He went down so quickly he hadn't even had time to scream. She quickly readied another knife and darted between the men in camo. Her target was the man pointing a gun at Mayuri's head. She dropped her hips low to the ground. In an instant, she moved behind him and slit his throat. Blood poured out and it astonished Mayuri, but there was no time to worry about her. She grabbed his rifle and fired a few shots to force them to the ground, and grabbed Mayuri's hand and ran behind the machine. The plan had gone well so far, but she had seriously underestimated how well trained these men were. The second in command quickly moved to the front and worked to re-establish control. All she had was a knife and the gun she'd stolen, and she needed to protect Mayuri, a non-combatant. She was still facing more than 25 active enemies. Whatever the right way to get out of this was, she couldn't find it. The time machine was still active. She couldn't escape because she couldn't leave it here. One of the men fired several rounds toward her, which bounced off the side of the machine. And then Mayuri's head flew back as if she'd been struck. A spurt of blood came out. This didn't go well. Her cute face was turning blood red. One of the rounds had grazed her after it had ricocheted. She was clutching herself with her arms, and her expression was completely blank. Her tiny body was shaking. Suza couldn't blame her. She fired back at the enemy, but they kept drawing closer. The time machine's maintenance hatch was right in front of her. When she saw that it was there, she visualized her last option in her mind. If she did that, all of her plans would be ruined. The path to Steins Gate would be forever closed. But that didn't mean she was cold-blooded enough to sacrifice Mayuri here. If the world lines were going to converge, maybe Mayuri wouldn't die here at all. But what her father had said during his video message bothered her.
もう気づいているかもしれないが、君とマユシの選択によって世界線は
You went to the Sucky world line.
つまり僕も君が出発した世界線とは違う別の世界線上の橋田至るということになる。
They showed, which meant that Suza had no proof that Mayuri would be alive in 2036 now. Had the world line really changed? Of course, for the sake of Operation Aquila, she hoped it had. But that meant she wouldn't be able to move from this place. The worst case scenario. That would be these men taking the time machine. They could turn the world line into something even worse than the one Suza had experienced. It might become a world line where not only Mayuri's life wasn't saved, but Daru's wasn't either. If that was going to happen, she had to make her choice fast. She kept a careful eye on the men, and as soon as she saw an opening, she opened the maintenance hatch biometric lock. She could see part of the engine, which was still giving off a quiet rumble. She turned her gun sights on it. Fortunately, the unit that created the Kerr black hole still wasn't active. Even if she blew up the machine here, it probably wouldn't cause a serious damage to the space-time continuum. As soon as she saw that, she went to pull the trigger. And Mayuri's voice stopped her.